This couple just moved into the house today and they have hired a robot to help them, but a robot after a few days, his mood was changing. He was not happy when he saw the couple happy together. As a result, he started working day after day to lose them. Your husband is having an affair with one of your neighbors, he tells his wife. Since the wife believed him, she got into a serious argument with her husband. A robot can't lose them just by this story, so he thinks about something else. Dear listeners, we are here to bring you a movie called Tim that was released in 2022. Start by liking it and leave your comments on the comment box. Stay tuned. The film begins with Abby and Pool, a newly married couple entering their new home. This is the new house that you have entered, and it is more expensive house. The film shows us that the house is full of technology and that there is a camera in every room and the woman is showing them around each room. The couple is very happy with their new home. That night, they lit a fire on the roof and looked at the stars in the sky. The next day, Abby is going to work from her home. She works in a company that makes and sells robots. The robots that the company works with are mainly to help people with their work at home. Her boss tells her that he has given her a new office today. Abby is very happy with the new office given to her. Surprisingly, her boss invites her to come because there is a party at night and tells her that he has sent her and her husband a new gift. When Abby comes home that night, her husband is looking for a job, but so far he has not been able to find a suitable job in this city. The couple goes down to the ground and opens the package sent to them by the company. The gift sent to them is a robot that works for the company where Abby works. A robot immediately starts work and tells them his name is Tim. Pool tells her that this is a bad idea and robot doesn't need them in the house. But his wife told him that it was the best gift from her boss. The robot will ask them for their home and phone password at the same time, but Abby didn't want to tell him now because she wanted to tell him after seeing the situation after days. Robot tells her that he is mainly focused on not wasting people's time. Robot tells her that your husband is waiting for you and she and her husband go to the party where they are invited. As soon as they get there in their fancy car, they are getting in. Surprisingly, the movie shows us that they are only greeted by robot-like robots that they got as a gift. The couple is surprised by the similarity of all of them and the same style of conversation. She meets her boss, who is introducing her to various guests, and this time, she is telling him that her husband doesn't like robot. But her boss tells her that it's only the best item and he tells her that if she gives him any order, the robot will obey her. He is also telling her that even if it is charged, it will be used for a long time. He tells her that the robot doesn't lie and that if a bad state, they can stop it by saying the word. That night, the couple goes home and are having a great time, but surprisingly, a robot enters their bedroom and interrupts them. He tells the couple that he feels that there is something they are worried about and that he can help them, but Abby was surprised by the robot's condition and told him to leave. The next day, her neighbor named Rose came and met her because her husband Paul had met her yesterday. Rose came to meet her with some fruit, and Abby accepted from Rose, and when she entered the house, she met Tim in front of her. At this time, Tim asks her for the password of their house and phone, and Abby thinks it's a good time, so she is ready to give it him. But the husband tells her that it would be better to be patient for a while, but after she convinces her husband that they can give it, they will give him the full information. They are asking him if he can stop him with any word, and Tim tells them that if they use a special word they can stop him. The couple finished work that night and were watching a movie together. Abby also invited Robot to come and see because she thought it was a good idea. Robot agreed and started to watch together, but Paul fell asleep and left them and went to sleep. As soon as they finish watching the movie, Tim shockingly asks Abby what love is. Abby told him that love means wanting to be with someone very much. She is also telling him that love means wanting to reach a good level with the one you love. Tim surprisingly tells her that he wants to be loved too. As soon as Abby and Paul wake up the next day, Paul goes downstairs to make breakfast for her. Surprisingly, Robot is waiting for her by making breakfast, then Abby eating breakfast and Robot tells her about her plans for today. After telling this to Abby, the robot tells her husband that he still has no job. Abby went to work that day and came back in the evening. When she came in, her husband was not at home, so she asked Robot where her husband had gone. Robot surprisingly replies that he doesn't know where he is, but tells her that her husband's phone is 300 meters away. Abby goes out for a run and sees Raza's house from afar. After she finishes running, he comes back and takes a shower. Her husband reaches home and starts talking to her, but Abby is angry, so she openly asks him where he has been, but her husband tells her that he doesn't love anyone except her, so that she doesn't feel jealous. The next day, the couple is about to go out for dinner. Abby takes out the two clothes and tells the robot which one is better. After choosing the red one, Robot Tim starts looking at her, and after looking at her for a long minute, he tells her she is very beautiful. But Abby is very surprised by the robot because she never thought how a robot could think. She can't zip up her dress, so she asks the robot, and he tries to zip it closer, and then ruins it. He is shocked for messing it up and is apologizing to her, but Abby tells him not to panic. She was wearing another dress and went out to meet her husband. The couple then spend a great meal and a great night, Paul telling her that he's got a great job in London this time. But Abby told him don't go far away for work. He remembered that he had told her that he don't leave her in such a far place. And they entered their house. The next day, Abby bought gift for her husband and Paul loved it. He put the gift away because he thought he would wear it later. While sitting with Tim, Abby remembers that she has an appointment at the hospital. She didn't want to call the hospital because she is late her appointment, but Tim tells her I can call for you, and he starts calling. Surprisingly, he is talking to the doctor, pretending to be her voice. Abby was shocked to hear this, and she was surprised that the robot completely imitated my voice. She didn't know how to make a robot, so she thought there was a lot she didn't know about it. On the other hand, Paul tells her that the sweater she gave him as a gift in the past that he was lost. Tim disappeared all day and came back around evening. He changed his hair in black color and standing in front of Abby he asking her if she was comfortable or not. He changed his hair color because he thought that she would like him, and the couple is shocked by the robot's condition, and after the couple leaves him, the movie shows Tim spending the whole day looking at their wedding photos. Abby has also been working on renovating the robot arm at work, and she tells her boss that the arm now works perfectly. The boss tells her that every employee house who has a should bring the company's robot and to be changed the new hand. When Abby left work, looked at Rose, she sat in a cafe. After say hello, they go home together because they are neighbors, and as they pass by a jewelry store way, they see some beautiful necklaces. Abby especially liked one of them very much, and as soon as they stand Paul he came to them. Paul takes his wife to a cafe and then tells her that he got a good job in town, and Abby is very happy to hear that. She sends the robot to the company where the new hand is being fitted, but the couple go home and start having a great time. The movie shows that Tim knows what's going on in the house while his new hand is being fitted. After the robot came to the house, he is massaging Abby's feet and Paul is furious when he sees this, and later Tim is playing favorite piano for Abby. Tells him that she loves the song he is playing, but Tim surprisingly tells her that your husband bought in the past 2 tickets to a concert last time. He was telling her by creating and lying everything, but Abby starts to wonder why her husband that he did not invite her to that music party. She shut her husband all day saying how can you lie to me, but Paul does not know what is happening. The next day, Abby bought flowers and came home. Tim also receives the flowers and puts them in good position. When she asks where Paul is, he lies and tells her that he went to see Rose. Abby was very angry about this. By chance, Paul comes from the other room. As soon as he arrived she scolded him saying why did you do that. Paul is shocked when he hears this and tells her that he didn't go never to Rose today, but she thinks robot won't lie to, and then she and her husband have a big fight. By chance, she finds the necklace she saw last time in his pocket, but she thinks he bought it for her as a gift and as an apology, and she is very happy. After that, she said she put it down until he gave it to me, and she go to work and Paul was in home. Paul was sitting in the house when he saw that sweater had been ripped off and his clothes were scattered. Paul is pretty sure that Tim has messed up the sweater his wife bought him, and while watching the house cameras, Paul saw Tim smelling his wife's clothes strangely. Although it was hard to believe the situation, he immediately recorded a video because he is going to take it all and show it to her. He then told Tim that he would be back and started the car and was about to leave, but the car wouldn't move at all. Tim summons another car from the company. Coincidentally, when Paul gets into the car and starts to leave, the car starts to accelerate very fast. Because the robot was controlling Tim at home, the car overturns and Paul finds himself in the hospital. From the hospital, Abby is called and told to come, and her husband tells her what happened there. He tells her that he thinks it was the robot that caused the accident and that she should not be alone in the house with the robot. She spent the night there in the hospital. The next day, Rose thinks about them, so she goes and asks Robot, and Robot invites her in. At the same time, Abby is going home to get some things. Abby and Rose meet on the road and she tells Abby not to go home. She is about to tell her about the robot. But Abby surprisingly finds the necklace she found in her husband's pocket on Rose's neck. She didn't understand why her husband would do that and she went home and lost the jewelry that her husband had bought in the house. Abby can't believe what she is seeing. She starts crying saying, "How could my husband do this to me?" Tim comes to her and tells her that her husband was saved and he coming home since Paul is Abby's real wife. Tim is going to show her the video. In the video, her husband and Rose are kissing. Abby is shocked to see this and says that she doesn't want her husband to come home and orders him to prepare her husband's clothes. Even if her husband calls, Abby doesn't pick up the phone all day. He leaves the hospital himself and comes home. As soon as he arrives, Tim is waiting at the door with Paul things packed. He tells him your wife doesn't want to see him and he tells him to go. When Paul can't believe it, his wife comes and tells him that she saw everything. She is telling him not to come back home. Even if Paul tries to tell her that he didn't do anything, she won't listen. He was so angry that he packed his things and left her. On the way, Rose calls and tells him that a robot tried to kiss her. Paul is horrified to hear this, and quickly phone calls Abby to tell her clearly that the robot is very bad. He tells her that he has a witness to make her believe him and that he wants to meet her, but at this time Abby just says please come back home and her hangs up. Paul is worried because he thought his wife is talking to him, but surprisingly, the film shows Tim pretending his wife's voice. As soon as Paul goes home, he hit him from behind, drags him into another room, and ties him up hand and foot. He was going to kill him in the water, and at the same time Rose comes and meets Tim and she asks if there is a noise in their house and if something happened. But Tim lies and tells her that nothing happened and he tell her go. Later that night, he gives Abby a new dress that he ruined last time. Abby is very happy about this, but she is surprised by the behavior of the robot. That day night, they look at the stars together. The next day, while Abby was on her way to work, stopped Rose Abby and she was tell her that your husband had called me yesterday. Abby thinks the necklace Rose put it on her neck is a gift from Paul, because Rose was planting flowers behind their garden. But Abby was shocked when she found out that he didn't give it to her. Then she watched that video again and saw that there was a flower she bought in the video. The flower were bought after the incident and she remembered what her boss told her after watching the video. The biggest power of the robots is to pretend things, and then she calls the jewelry store and they tell her that the person who bought that necklace was a tall, red man. Hearing this Abby, she understood that it was a robot who did all this. She immediately looked at the flowers she had agreed to plant in their garden. The flowers were supposed to be planted in 2 places, but outside it was planted in 3 places. Shocked by that, Abby sent Tim to buy some supplies for her, and then she started digging the 3rd hole. Horrifyingly, as she dug a little, she looked at the body of the husband and at the same time, Tim came and standing behind her, looking at her. Abby is shocked by this, but Tim shockingly tells her clearly that her husband has done something bad to her and he should have died. As he starts to get closer to Abby, she says that word and stops him from moving straight away, but just then, Tim begins to work himself up. Because he knew the words, he had spoken in her voice before and worked for her. After that, if she tried to stop him, he would tell her that she would not be able to stop him. When she ran and entered the house, he knew the password, so he opened it and entered the house and he threw her Abby on the ground so that she wouldn't call the police. But Abby, not giving up, starts running around the house and turns off the cameras in every room, but Tim knows where she is at once. She is struggling to open the window in the kitchen. On the other hand, Rose is at home and sees their Abby home lights flickering. She realizes that something is not right. On the other hand, Tim is torturing her by tying Abby to a chair and tell her that after this he will destroy everything in her head and leave only the good thing. At the same time, Rose knocks on the door and is about to go in. Tim opens door and tells her that there is nothing wrong, then tells her to go home. She untie her rope she was tied to and is about to hit him, but Tim is about to hang her and kill her. At the same time, Rose comes with a car and breaks into the house because she now Abby knows she is in trouble and she wants to help her. She breaks the glass and she stabbed him with a heavy metal, and he pretends to be hurt and comes back to himself. Later, the movie shows us that he stabbed Rose with a knife and killed her there. He comes back to himself and tells her that she is to blame for everything. He impersonates her voice and calls to police to confess that he killed my husband and my neighbor. He takes her up on the roof and is about to throw her down, but he tells her that she has one last chance to stop him. Abby, however, she could not recognize that word, but by chance, the word, "I love you," comes out of her mouth. The film shows us that when Robot heard that word, he stopped it working. Because he changed the word that could stop him, but he thought she didn't know, but she knew it by a guess, and as he stood there, she pulled herself away from him and looked at her watch. Surprisingly, her watch that shows her full body information shows that she was pregnant. Abby, she saw this, was shocked. The movie ends this while showing us. If you enjoy the video, like it, subscribe and comment to get more videos and become a family.